Live from the Ballz Visual Radio studios, this is the Blades on Ball show. And now, here's your host, the voice of South African rugby himself, Hugh Bladen. Hugh, it's over to you.
Hennie, it's Hugh Bladen here. You're live. I'm sorry, we've taken the liberty of putting you live on Ballz Radio. So sorry to take the liberty, and we've just spoken to Joel, and I suppose we're about the 5th radio station or the 10th radio station that have phoned you today. But we just phoned because of the anniversary of the 95 winning the World Cup. I want to just tell you that I have very often said that you were the epitome of a second 5/8. The All Blacks always played, the second 5/8 role of a second fly half, and I always said that you were the perfect second 5/8 because you played so much rugby at fly half, and then you moved to inside centre for the World Cup. But Hennie, what are your memories of that day?
Oh, everything seemed to go so quickly, but, it's obviously everything was fond, and it was just great camaraderie and great to have been involved and carried by so many supporters. I think if there's one distinct aspect, it was just the energy level within that stadium, and obviously knowing that you were being supported by everyone in the country, and it's just the emotion that was flowing in the stadium on that day. It was indescribable. It was almost palpable, and that's something that will remain with me, till the day I put my head down. So it was very, very special.
Joel mentioned Madiba.
Sydney.
Sid, my butt. How are you, Hennie?
Yes, Sid.
Joel mentioned the big part Madiba had in that victory, and he was very much part of. And what are your memories of Madiba coming into the change room? Can you remember what was said?
Probably not as much what was said, but more the impact that he had, and obviously it was a very focusing impression that we had, just from the sense of view that what we were busy trying to achieve was probably beyond just what we thought it to be, rugby and so forth. But clearly, having had his support and also the knowledge that everyone out there was behind us, because prior to the World Cup actually kicking off, there was a lot of uncertainty in terms of the support and so forth. And as the World Cup went on and grew, it became obvious that regardless of colour, creed, or notion, the entire South Africa were behind us, and that was a very empowering position to be placed in, and obviously a lot of responsibility and accountability as well.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of beautiful
Hennie,
memories.
just go back. I think you were staying at the Sunnyside Park Hotel. Am I right? We've got quite a few listeners who tweet us, and just give them how your day on that day started and till kick-off time.
Well, interestingly enough, the big story was the night before when Kitch called us in and said, look, he thinks New Zealand's a well-rounded side, and we should possibly think of playing a different strategy, a different game. And we sat horrified, looking at wanting to change a game on a Friday night. The game plan, and it wasn't necessarily that we didn't know how to play a different game plan. It was just where our comfort zone was, and everyone kind of looked at each other, and one of the players stood up and said, "Coach, they don't quite agree. They feel that we should stick to the game plan that we've been playing all the way, and we should continue in that vein." And Kitch looked at the rest of us and he said, "Well, what do the rest of you guys feel?" And the rest of us said, "No, we should stick to the same game plan." And he stood up and said, "Well, then I'm going to do it for your country," and walked out. And, whether that was a specific tactic of his or not, I suppose will remain yet untold. But interestingly enough, what he did there is he handed over all accountability and responsibility to us. And, wow, we hardly slept on that Friday night. We were so energized, and it was us taking responsibility for what we had to do on the field the next day. So it was very empowering and also special.
Well, Kitch was a master at that, wasn't he, Hennie?
He was. He had an ability to find the out of players in a way that was subtle, that one didn't realize that he was actually guiding you into making a decision. And I think that's the one aspect that makes him stand out as a coach. And you obviously find today in the soccer fraternity, they don't call them coaches, they call them managers, because in essence it's managing people. It's getting the best out of people, and how you treat one individual may not work for another. And I think that's probably the strongest aspect, is to be able to have a central aspect which a team can buy into, and then manage and get the best out of probably 22 very different individuals within a team.
Yeah, and God, I agree with you 100% there, my man, really.
Well, pearls of wisdom. I think that's fabulous. Hennie, have a great day, and thanks for the memories, and thanks for being such a great entertainer, and have a wonderful day.
Cheers, Hennie.
Thank you, gents.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
That was the Blades on Ball show. Join the voice of South African rugby on your wireless next Monday for more unbelievable memories and banter. Until then, stay classy, like 20-year-old Glenn Morangi classy.